Good morning. My name is Michael, and these are my co hosts Chase and Nathan. And this is the Cornfed Coverage Podcast where we talk all things college football, NFL football, so on and so forth. Uh, we're just going to go right into this thing. And Chase is going to talk about the Nebraska Cincinnati game that he had the pleasure of attending himself down in good old Arrowhead Stadium. How was that game, Chase? Did you enjoy it?
Oh yes, the atmosphere was crazy. Crowd was loud. For a Cincinnati home game, Nebraska fans really came there to take over. Travel was crazy though. Coming from Omaha, which is usually a 3-hour trip, took about 5.5 hours. More or less, it was good to go. See Nebraska be 1-0. It feels nice to be 1-0 and finally win a one-score close game. When Cincy was driving there at the end, I'm not gonna lie, I was getting flashbacks of all past Nebraska games. I was like, oh boy, we're in for it. But Malcolm Hartzog with the making up for the flag earlier to pull off the game. Where I was sitting was actually kind of behind that end zone too, so I got to see that interception up and close. It was awesome. We just made plays when we needed to make plays. Fourth and goal, touchdown pass to Key. Emmett Johnson looks like the real deal. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I am excited for this Nebraska season. I think big things are in store for us. When I first left, I was kind of thinking like, maybe we're average, but after a long weekend of football, I think Nebraska is a top 25 team. What about you, Nathan? What do you think about the game?
Well, I'm kind of, I was really stressing that loss too, just because we've been in that situation so many times the last 3 or 4 years, and it just feels almost sickening to think of again. But this year again, it feels like we have turned a corner. The team came out, we made plays when it mattered most. We did have a rather slow start, but we killed the time of possession. We had that ball for almost double their time. So it's just great to see guys making plays, especially the transfers that we had come in with Key and Hunter having big games. But on the defensive side of the ball, you know, I really liked the game out of Deshaun Singleton and Williams Nwaneri. I think he looked really good in, you know, he recovered that fumble, and I think that Butler is going to start getting it figured out. Uh, we really did struggle to stop the run with Brendan Sorsby having the game that he did on the ground. He had more rushing yards than he did passing yards. But that being said, I think that Butler's going to come in and kind of hammer the guys down, fix some of the things that he had wrong. A couple missed tackles here and there, but I do think that the guys are going to learn from this experience, even though we did come away with the win. Um, I think that they are pleased to start the season off 1-0, and this is exactly what we need going forward. How about you, Michael?
So I am happy with the Huskers starting out 1-0 for the 2025 season. Um, a win is a win in my book. It might have not have been pretty with our offense kind of sputtering in the first couple of drives with having Cunanan nail that 52-yard field goal for us to tie it up 3-3. And then really once our defense started getting a hold of what Cincy was trying to do, both on the ground and through the air, I think with the adjustments that Butler made, along with Deshaun Singleton, Malcolm Hartzog, Williams and Warney, and Vincent Shavers have scored a touchdown in that second quarter to go up 13-3. Um, and with a minute six left in the second quarter, if Vincent Shavers did not force that fumble, and that was a huge hit. So defense shined in moments for sure, but I also think there were things on, um, specifically the run game. If you look at the screen here, Oh, give me a sec. Brendan Sorsby had 96 yards rushing. Um, like Nathan said, he had more rush yards than pass yards, and he also had more rush yards than his own running back. And he had 43 more yards if we wanted to be technical. Um, so in total, I mean, we out yarded Cincinnati 353 to 271, which I think is telling because it was a close game, but I didn't think we had out yarded them by almost 100 yards. Um, Obviously, it was a pretty balanced attack overall since he wasn't giving any deep balls to Raiola at all, which is why we were seeing those little drag routes and 5 yard out routes that we run all the time on video games. Now, the one thing that kind of scared me was there were two specific, like 5 yard out, 10 yard out throws that Raiola had made. One of them, our offensive line missed a free blitzer, which made obviously Raiola throw the ball early, but I don't think he wanted to make that throw rather than take the sack because that throw he made to the 5 yard out, and I think that was either on our first or second offensive drive of the game, where since he looked like they had a pick six and a free lane to the end zone, with Raiola being the last person to beat. And Nebraska came away from the game with 0 turnovers, which is phenomenal and huge. Um, but it also had to have the game go the right way for Nebraska. Nebraska had at least two 50-50 calls in the game. One being Isaiah Hunter toe drag touchdown to end the second quarter up 13-3. The other being Vincent Shaver's fumble, or forced fumble, I should say, because initially they were going to rule that an incomplete pass, have Cincy redo the down, but then obviously the officials reviewed it. Receiver had possession, and then almost immediately the receiver got the possession. Vincent Shavers forced the fumble. Nebraska goes on to score a touchdown in the second quarter, and may I mention first touchdown of the actual game. So all in all, Nebraska's offense figured out a way to beat Cincinnati on the ground with Emmett Johnson's 104 rush yards. Um, Rilo was able to complete 243 yards through the air with a completion percentage. I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think it was 68%.
78.6.
78.6. So I saw a couple of stats scrolling through Twitter that were stating that is his highest completion percentage in his time at Nebraska. And to see that um, is telling because last year I think he averaged right around 67-68% total for his completion percentage. So he's already being more efficient, and that's catered to Daniel Holgerson being able to scheme for Raiola to not have him waiting on those deep balls, having to wait in that pocket for so long for a play to develop. So that was another key to the huge Husker win. Do you guys have anything to add to that game? Chase, did you want to tell us how long it actually took you to go from Omaha to Kansas City? Of which, to let our viewers know, it typically can take like 2.5 hours to get from Omaha to KC.
I actually said this earlier, but usually it's a 2.5, 3 hour drive, and it took me 5.5 hours.
So
Um, but like Matt Rule was saying, it's a cool time to be a Husker. Attending that Husker game, major celebrities Taylor Swift, Kelsey Brothers in the NFL, Will Compton and the Bussin' Boys. Huskers got to ball out with some celebrities in attendance.
yeah, it was a packed crowd, and it looked really cool. I don't think we broke the sound record there, right? Because that was 162 or 142.
They at least didn't announce it. I think most of the time I saw it was like in the 140s.
Nice. There we go. So that's awesome to be
But it
able
was
to. Yeah. Was it louder than Memorial, or do you think Memorial was louder?
about the same.
Wow. You guys heard it here first. Memorial has a crowd just like NFL stadiums. Ah, but to move on from the Huskers starting off the season 1-0, we're gonna recap a couple of college football games here. Um, and we're just gonna start with Chase. He wanted to go over a couple of games, and then we're just gonna keep going.
Yeah, I guess first we could start with Texas Ohio State. Obviously number 1 versus number 3 rematch of the semifinal from last year. Say my the biggest takeaway is both teams do have really great defenses, but coming out of it, Arch Manning probably everyone's kind of out on him now. I wouldn't say I'm quite out on him, but he did not look good. And what he was missing was just kind of easy throws. The timing felt off, the rhythm felt off. They didn't really get anything going till the fourth quarter. They kind of started getting him out on the run, started opening up a little bit more. But even Steve Sarkisian in the game plan and what they were calling made it seem like he doesn't trust an Arch much. It was very vanilla, very run heavy. Uh, but it is Ohio State. He was in the shoe. They had the best defense last year. They might have the best defense again this year. I think they do. I think Texas will be fine. Will still make the playoffs this year. But I'm coming away with this thinking Ohio State is probably the best team in the country right now. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys high on Ohio State or
I think they did look good. Um, However, personally, I know Texas has a good defense, but this year they just kind of looked. They held Ohio State to 14 with Julian Sayin making his first start of the year or first career, I guess. But I was kind of expecting a little bit more from, just both teams in general. But that's just because I like to see more points if possible. But, it was a great defensive outing from both teams. A total of 21 points scored in the game between, two top five teams is pretty unheard of. Um, but I would like to see kind of Arch take a couple more steps in his growth and Arc as well with his play calling. Just because I do think Arch he's a talented kid. Uh, he's got some doubters to prove wrong, I guess now. And just because he carries that last name does not mean he should be held to a higher or lower standard than any other college football player playing currently. So I do think that Ohio State does look like one of the best teams in the country currently. Um, I do have them going pretty far this season. So we'll kind of see what unfolds.
So, what was the
maybe it
over
could have been
under?
closer to
What was the over under supposed to be for that Ohio State Texas game?
like 45 maybe, something in the mid 40s.
I was surprised by how defensive of a game that was. Like Nathan said, I was expecting more points. I thought it would have been more like 21-27-ish. Just because Ohio State is typically firing on all cylinders on the offensive side of the ball, whether that be passing or running. Same with Texas, but like you have both said, um, Arch and Julian both made their very first starts of their. Well, Arch played last year, but they made the they made the start of the 2025 season.
His first road start.
Yeah, and Lee Corso was right. He picked Ohio State, and Ohio State won. Went back to his first ever college football pick. Ended his you know, analyst career picking who he started picking. So that was really cool. And I don't think Ohio State's the best team in the Big Ten. I think Penn State holds that crown because I do have Penn State winning the Big Ten. Um, but it was nice seeing Julian Sayin get out there. obviously, I don't think he fired on all cylinders, but he walked away with the win in the Ohio State Stadium. And so I think that's just huge for Ohio State to start off 1-0, especially against a top 5 opponent. And so,
Julian Salen did what he was supposed to. He didn't
yeah,
make any mistakes, and that's kind of why they won the game.
yeah, exactly. And when you don't turn the ball over at all, it's hard to lose football games, especially if you're as good of a team as Ohio State or as Texas.
And
Um,
you have the Ohio State defense.
yeah, exactly. Another game that I also saw was FSU upsetting number 8 Bama in Florida State's home field advantage. Um, Now Castellanos, who was a transfer quarterback that they had gotten, um, wasn't he from Boston College, right?
Yep.
To
I didn't even
see,
know that till pregame, and I was like, oh boy. That kind of made me more hype on Florida State going in.
yep, yep, and having seen Castellanos, go up against Nebraska in that bowl game last year, it's kind of cool. We got to play against a quarterback who beat a Bama team, coached by Kalen DeBoer. But Castellanos hit him with the run game. He had 78 yards on the ground, along with a touchdown, to go with 152 yards in the air. So he had totaled over 200 yards. Um, Bama's offense kind of sputtered at times, is what it looked like, but they also tried clawing back to, come back from that deficit that they were in. Um, I'm sure Callan, DeBoer, and his team will figure out what's going on. Um, a lot of teams have week 1 jitters, and maybe that's what was going through Bama's mind. Now, Tony White's defense, on the other hand of things, holding Bama to 17 points total, is something to be proud of, especially on a week 1 where you were a 13.5 point underdog going into the game. Um, Lee Corso picked you guys to win though, so that's cool. And I just think Florida State might be a little scary team to look out for. Um, you never know, especially with their new OC as well. Did you
I
guys
think you
have any
immediately
thoughts on that
put
game?
Florida State in your top 3 to 4 ACC contenders already, just from this game alone.
Yeah.
It's them, Clemson, Miami, Georgia
I
Hmm.
Tech,
think
Louisville, maybe.
Kalen DeBoer needs to be worried about getting ran out of town if he doesn't right the ship.
Well,
Could be getting fired in 6 months or a year and 6 months from now.
he's in year 3 or year 2 at Bama.
Year 2.
You
Year
too.
2. So maybe they'll run him out of town next year if he doesn't figure it out this year.
Yeah, I
Could be a
think Bama's in
potential hot
trouble. They've
seat.
got kind of a tricky schedule. I think they might be a
If they don't
7-5,
make the
8
playoff,
team.
yeah, if they don't make the playoff, I think he's gone.
After 2 years
But
though?
yeah, Michael, Alabama had Nick Saban. They have a standard in Tuscaloosa that needs to be met. So I think that if they don't do that, then they're just settling for mediocrity.
On
So
the hot.
it's interesting to see what happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, and if they go 7-5, 8-4, like I think they might, that's definitely Bama's going to be coming with pitchforks after him. That's
Yeah.
not okay with them.
No. No, and they got so spoiled with
Playoffs
Saban.
loss.
It's just mind blowing. I mean, it's kind of like what Nebraska went through after we fired Bo Pelini. We were unhappy with 9-4 every year with losing the big games, and then all of a sudden Nebraska's like, we need to go win those big games, so we fire Bo,
Or even
and
Frank Solich right after Tom Osborne. He was
yeah,
going
yeah,
9-3, 10-2.
yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows what's in store for Callan? I'm sure Bama will find a way to right the ship come the season, but who knows?
I don't think they are.
Like you
I don't
guys
think they are.
said, if they
We'll see.
don't, Bama fans will be coming at them with pitchforks, and that'll be
Florida
interesting to
State's
see.
quarterback, though, talking talking his trash in the offseason, backing it up, saying that Bama was nothing without Nick Saban. He came out and played with that edge.
Yep, and it paid off too. Uh, Now I know somebody wanted to talk about their Baylor Bears losing to Auburn in week 1, especially since somebody had those Baylor Bears winning the Big 12 championship. Of course, I'm talking about Nathan, who's got a little smirk on his face, who might be itching to talk about this game. What did you see, Nathan, from your predicted Big 12 champs?
So I really liked how Sawyer Robinson, he threw for over 400 yards. He did have 3 touchdowns. Now it wasn't enough to beat the Tigers. Their run defense just really it stayed at home, if I'm being completely honest. With Jackson Arnold just running all over them, and that, it was hurtful to see, but um, it could have gone a lot worse. Um, and it isn't a conference loss, so it could be worse, it could be better, but obviously we would have wanted a win there, but it happens, and it is better to happen currently in week 1 or week 2 versus later in the season, October, start of November, because that's when the playoff committee's really paying a close attention to games. So I do think that they need to bounce back this week against SMU, but we'll kind of see what that looks like in terms of defense. So,
Is
um,
is that SMU
it's
Baylor
it's
game?
not the end of the world.
Is that SMU Baylor game? Is that at Baylor or at SMU?
I think it's an
I
SMU.
believe
I
it's
could be wrong,
at
but
SMU.
I think I come away from that game more thinking that Auburn's better than I thought, more than I'm totally out on Baylor or
Correct.
anything. Jackson Arnold looked
I
good.
do. I agree with you on that.
I think
I
Auburn's
think
maybe
that
in
I
that
was.
tier 2 of SEC teams now, which I thought maybe they were more like tier 3 going into the season.
Yep, they deserved a little bit more respect than I gave them. So, props to you, Tigers. Good job this week.
But with that, um, Chase, you had one more game you wanted to bring up for the week 1, correct?
Yeah, we could touch on Clemson LSU here quickly. Um,
Tigers, Tigers.
I think I'm coming away from the game that LSU's a natty contender and that Clemson was a little overrated going into the season. I think Clemson's kind of going to be like they were last year. I think they're going to rattle off some ACC wins. People are going to start hyping them up again. But I think they're probably a first round exit playoff team. I don't even know if they're going to win the ACC anymore. Going into the season, I was really confident about that. But Miami looked good last night, getting a win over Notre Dame. And I'm forgetting someone
SMU.
off the top of my head, but and who knows how North Carolina is going to be too. But LSU's defense finally showed up. They brought in a new defensive coordinator. They brought in some transfers. Perkins, who tore his ACL in like game 1 or game 2 last year, he's back. He made his presence known. He was probably the best player
Uh,
on their defense. Nussmeier, total control of the game. His stats might not look like crazy good, but he was making adjustments at the line of scrimmage, total control of the game, and never made a huge mistake.
mhm.
LSU, I think, is going to be pretty good this year.
So
What about
I
you guys?
Garrett,
What
agree
do you
with
guys
you
think?
on that.
so
I
Garrett Nutt.
love the Tigers beating the Tigers. I think
I
that
think Nussmeier is the
Nussmeier
Heisman
is
favorite
still
now.
in.
I
Yep,
thought he
he's
started the
definitely
season.
up there.
Didn't hit? Was it him or Cade that started as Heisman favorite? I thought one of those two were up
Arch,
there.
I think Arch Manning
It's
was
Arch Manning.
right
Was
there.
Yeah.
it Arch?
And then I think it was Klubnik and Nussmeier were like right there, 2-3.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Again, I do think that Cade Klubnik is not. This isn't the end of his season either. Just kind of like the similar way that Arch Manning fell to Ohio State this last weekend. So again, it's too early to throw in the towel on these quarterbacks. I think that Cade Klubnik can bounce back, especially with a coach like Dabo Sweeney. Um, so we'll kind of see what the season brings. But again, I do like the Tigers a lot. I think that they're going to have a really great season. I think Nussmeier, again, he is my Heisman favorite. So we'll kind of see what the season brings once SEC play gets here.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting. I mean, SEC over Big Ten. That narrative wasn't looking too great this week, especially with the Big Ten going 15-2, which is phenomenal for the Big Ten over SEC narrative. Um, Ohio State beating Texas is huge. Um, and then obviously LSU over Clemson is big for SEC over ACC. Um, with that being said, I do think Garrett Nussmeier has most likely solidified as a front runner Heisman favorite now, with week one being over. But like you guys said, it is too early to throw the towel in on these quarterbacks that wound up 0-1, like Arch, and like Cade as well. And you never know. I mean, last year there were a couple of teams that started week one a little rocky, and then they wound up in the college football playoff. I think Oregon started off rough last year,
Yeah,
but
they like
still wound
barely
up
beat
winning.
Idaho
Yeah,
last year.
and then they wound up being in the college football playoff. So, who knows? Maybe Texas or Clemson could still claw their way back. It's only
Yep.
one loss. It's not two, and it's not three. So,
I could see if
um,
like Texas Ohio State play again, we could be like saying, "Oh, these are two totally different teams than when they played week 1."
exactly. And like
Hmm.
with the week one games, and it was awesome seeing football on again. And I loved being able to follow along with all of the games from a brisk 11 in the morning till about 11 in the evening. So,
Yeah.
um, but with week one games, I also think it's important to take it with a grain of salt too, especially since with the transfer portal and the hirings and firings of coaches and going out and grabbing new coaches, um, it can be a little rocky of a week one start for some teams. And so once week two, week three rolls around and we get into the thick of it in the season, I think we'll start seeing different teams make leaps and hurdles while we see other teams, kind of go down that path. One of those teams that I think might be going down that path of, you know, being mediocre again is unfortunately my Boise State Broncos, whom I've had picked in the college football playoff. Unfortunately, USF rolled the Broncos into the dirt on a Saturday night in Tampa. Byron Brown. Apparently, he was out last year for the Bulls. This guy, I was watching clips and highlights of him. He meets middle linebackers in the A gap with a shoulder and trucks them over. I have not seen that from a quarterback in Lord knows how long. I thought it was crazy. It looked like Taylor Martinez from Nebraska, but more contact seeking than Taylor was. Um, there was a clip. He had a 40-yard touchdown run where he broke, I think, 6 tackles. That 40-yard touchdown run got called back from a holding call, and I think it was a couple plays later he wound up on a 10-yard QB option, ran into the end zone. Um, Byron Brown had two great supporting players in Chaz Nimrod, which is a transfer they got from Tennessee. He had 3 receptions for 96 yards. And then Keyshawn Singleton, which was a receiver from last year, had 5 receptions for 93 yards and a touchdown. Um, USF has a strong dual threat quarterback in Byron Brown. And just by watching him run the ball, it was just astounding to me that Boise State's defense did not think about leaving a quarterback spy or something to stop him from running said ball. Apparently, it didn't happen. Um, Now Boise State didn't have the greatest game either. They had three fumbles lost. Um, and Maddox Madsen, which is their quarterback for the year, had two fumbles. He was able to get one back, but then he lost one. Um, they do not have another Ashton Jeanty, and I can confirm that. Unfortunately, they're gonna have to go with who they've got now, and pray to God something turns a new leaf because that running back was struggling throughout that entire game. I don't know if it was their running back or the O line that needed to start doing something to develop that run game, but it was not impactful at all. And the University of South Florida Bulls came away with a win in that game decidingly over Boise State top 25. Um
Yeah, I think with that Florida Heat in that second half, Boise State's defense looked gassed, and South Florida punished them with the run game and just ran away with the game in the second half.
oh, I
Is
can't
there
hear
any
you,
other week one
Nathan.
games you guys want to get into?
I thought I saw Nathan say something. I can't hear
I
you.
can't hear you, Nathan. Well, in the meantime, we could, if Nathan doesn't have anything, we could hop over to some week two action.
Yeah, yeah, let's hop into some week 2 action. Um Now with week 2, I'm going to let you talk about that OU Michigan game that you've got slated. Uh and what do you think's going to happen with that game? Michigan goes to Norman. It's Bryce Underwood's first true road test for his 2025 season. Um what do you think?
I think this game is kind of an unknown a little bit. You got John Mateer, the new transfer quarterback at Oklahoma. He's from Washington State. They also brought the Washington State offensive coordinator with him. So they kind of have a whole new offense at Oklahoma. The Michigan obviously starting true freshman Bryce Underwood in his first road game and his first Power Four game. It's hard to know what's really going to happen, which quarterback's going to show up under the bright lights. First primetime game, college game day is going to be there. I think I'm going to go with Michigan having the big boys on the line of scrimmage to be able to cover the 6 point line. I don't know if they'll win. I think this is going to be a field goal ish game that's going to come down to the last drive. Whoever can make a play, whichever quarterback can make a play and doesn't make too many mistakes. I'll go with Michigan to cover a close game. I think they're a live underdog in this game too.
Very cool. I
What about you, Michael?
I for one think Michigan is going to win this game, but I think Michigan is going to keep it close. I I actually have a prediction. Um I think Michigan keeps it close, pulling off a game-winning drive to win the game, and to leave Norman with a victory. Bryce Underwood gets his first ranked win under his belt. And moving forward, that kind of sets that Michigan Nebraska game up to be a little bit bigger as well. Hopefully, Michigan can travel to Nebraska undefeated moving forward, but we'll see. Um, I I I think it's going to be a close game either way, and who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe Oklahoma's defense is going to have Bryce Underwood's number now that they actually have game film. But it's really going to be a battle in the trenches. I think those big boys on Michigan's O line are going to need to put some helmet to helmet and just keep going. They do not need to get gassed in that game because if they do, Oklahoma's run game is just going to chew them up and spit them out in the third quarter. So hopefully, Sharon Moore, even though he is suspended, can get his boys ready to travel. He's not suspended.
Sherrone Moore's coaching. Yep, he's
He's
suspended for the
suspended for
Nebraska
games
game.
3 and 4. But that's his 2-game suspension because they wanted him to coach in this Oklahoma game. The disrespect at Nebraska, right?
You
But yeah,
guys are
he's
going to need
coaching there. It's his
Sharon
alma
more.
mater.
You're going to need Sharon more entering Memorial Stadium, Michigan. I want you guys to know that if I got any Michigan
Well, they
fans
won't
out
have him
here.
in that
We're
game.
They
going to
won't
need
have
him.
him.
Nathan, what do you think about this Michigan-Oklahoma game?
So I think that Michigan will take the edge over Oklahoma. I think it'll be a close one, but you know, it could go into overtime, but we'll see about that. Not to say that Oklahoma's a bad team. I think it'll be kind of a defensive game, but we'll kind of see what comes out of it. Uh, but I do like the Wolverines in that one, so they will advance to 2-0.
We're all big on Michigan, even though they're 6-point underdogs. Kind of scary. I feel like the line's kind of weird. I thought it'd be more like around 3, but
That's that
Yeah,
Norman effect.
is it kind of
yeah.
like that? It's that same spread as the Iowa State game, right?
Yep. Yep. Iowa State also 3. What are you guys thinking about in that game?
Nathan, go ahead.
I think the Cyclones are taking the top off the Hawkeyes, just because I think that Rocco Becht, he looked really good against K-State. They won again this last weekend. So I think that they will move to 3-0, especially since the game is in Ames. I think it will be a defensive game, but I think that Rocco is going to be able to kind of exploit that Hawkeye defense that has been historically good, but nothing too crazy. Give him 250 yards with 2 touchdowns.
I agree. Rocco Becht looks calm, poised. This is either his second, maybe even third year starting for Iowa State now. I think he'll make enough big throws on third downs to win them the game when they need it most. So I'll take Iowa State to cover and win the game.
And I'm going to be right there with you guys. I think Iowa State wins this game and covers. I do believe Rocco Becht is going to be able to throw the ball and gash Iowa's defense. Um, I don't know if Iowa State will really be able to run the ball just because Iowa will be Iowa. Their stellar defense is usually really good with stopping the run and making you make those uncomfortable throws. But I think Rocco Becht is going to make those uncomfortable throws and dial it in. So I've got Iowa State winning that game as well.
Yeah.
Do you guys think the stadium crowd in Ames is going to be half red, half black, or half red, half yellow? Or do you think it's going to be a sea
Mainly
of
red and
red?
yellow. Mainly Iowa State colors.
Yeah, you don't think the
Or
Hawkeye
what are
fans are
their
traveling?
alternates?
Well, I mean, the Hawkeye fans will travel, but they probably sold like 70, 80% to Iowa State.
Oh, true, since it is a Iowa
Rivalry
State
game, I
home
think they'll be
game.
loud. We'll see how Iowa's transfer quarterback is too from South Dakota State. He didn't really
Gronowski,
play anyone last week, so we don't really know how he is. We'll see how he looks this week against Iowa State.
they scored
Formidable
more
opponent.
points than Nebraska, but they played a
He
lesser
only had
opponent than
44
Nebraska.
They
passing
didn't
yards.
play a power four opponent.
Yeah.
They played like Albany or some weird school.
Mhm.
No shade to Albany. No shade to
Yeah, so
Albany.
sorry if anyone from Albany is listening.
But it's cool to see we're all on Iowa State. I mean, we're all Husker fans, so Iowa. Um,
No stress
but
here.
yep, exactly. Um, but the Huskers have a night game this coming weekend. We are hosting the Akron Zips. Now, Nebraska is favored by 35.5 points. What do you guys think about this game? We'll let Nathan go first since he's got his audio fixed now.
So I think that the Zips haven't scored a point all year yet. Now it's only been one game, but I do think that the Huskers are significantly better than the Wyoming team that they played last weekend. So if they'd like to score some points, their quarterback is going to have to step up, which will be a tough task against our secondary, which is, you know, seems to be improved from last year based off the last game. So I would like to kind of see, our team continue to feed Emmett Johnson, who looked like an animal last week. He would just keep going, and his feet did not stop churning. It was great to see. So I would like to see him continue to get the ball and more opportunities, as well as, the ball pushed downfield a little bit more by Raiola. He did have to check down a lot last week, but that's because they were doing two high safeties most of the game. So when, I would much rather have him check it down for a completion and moving the ball forward rather than forcing a tough pass or, you know, potentially an interception. So I think that if Dylan continues to make good decisions and has a little bit cleaner of a pocket, he's going to perform pretty well this week. So I would like to see him not get sacked. He was hit 3 times last week. So again, if we can continue to give him a clean pocket, he'll be able to make the good decisions we've seen him make. So, um, I think that we have a real ability here to shut down the Zips offense and win this game significantly more than the margin of victory was this last week. So, if the Zips can run the ball, however, similar to Cincinnati did, I would be a little worried, uh, even just the slightest bit, just because I know this Husker team uh, from the past couple seasons, but I would like to say that we have seemed to have turned a corner. So I'm expecting kind of a blowout here for Nebraska. I would like to see the Huskers win 38-10. Emmett Johnson will have 150 all-purpose yards with 2 touchdowns, and Dylan Raiola will throw for 275 with 2 touchdowns as well. Dane Key goes over 100 yards, and it's on the receiving end of a touchdown as well. So those are kind of my thoughts on the game this week. What about you, Chase?
Yeah. What I see is I don't think Akron's going to be able to do anything against us. I think on offense, they're going to be lucky to get across the 50-yard line. I think we're just going to pummel them. Maybe I'm a little high, but Wyoming's not a great team. I think they might have been like 5-7 last year, and they just put up 0 against Wyoming. Um, the keys to the game for me are I think we win if we play smart football. Just no like careless turnovers. We control the line of scrimmage. I think we'll have no trouble with Akron. I got us 42-3 in a blowout.
You
It's going
got
to
us
be nice to see
covering.
our first home game this year. First home game at night. Atmosphere is going to go crazy. I'm excited to see it. What about you, Michael?
I'm right there with you guys. I think Nebraska's going to win this game decidingly. Uh, Akron scoring 0 points against a Wyoming team that didn't go bowling last year is atrocious. Now, like you said, Nathan, if they're able to run the ball against us, um, I might be just a what's the word I'm looking for? Just a tad scared. Not even scared. Just I'm sure John Butler and our
I'm not
defense.
scared. I'm not scared of Akron.
I'm not scared. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. I'm sure John Butler, if they get more than a 15-yard run on us, John Butler's going to be like, that's not going to happen again the entirety of this game, and he'll make those adjustments. I think Nebraska covers this game, and we win 42-3. Uh,
Same prediction.
yes, sir. I do believe they're going to cover that 35.5 point spread. I do also believe that this is going to be Raiola's coming out party. He can finally unwind, let loose, and just play football. He's going to be playing back in Memorial finally. We'll get to see the entirety of Nebraska forming the third largest city in the state come Saturday. I think Emmett Johnson will also have over 150 all purpose yards, considering he totaled 130 all purpose yards just last week against a grindy Cincy defense who was not allowing any over the top balls at all. So I do believe that's doable. If anyone's listening out there and Emmett Johnson's all-purpose yards is over under 120, hammer that over. I'm letting you know that right now. Um, I think the Black Shirts also get 2 takeaways this game. Something they were able to do against Cincy last week as well. The one thing I do hope we see more of, though, is our D line getting after it. I want there to at least be 2 sacks in that game, considering Nebraska didn't sack Sorsby at all in the last game. Um, so moving forward, sounds like we've all got the Skurs finishing off the weekend 2-0. Hopefully, we're
I'm
right,
excited to watch
and
Baylor rip it.
it's going to be an exciting atmosphere to see. But to move forward, Uh, we're gonna go over some Week 1 NFL predictions. I'm gonna let Nathan go first because he's got his handy dandy Niners flag in the background. Who are your NFL picks for Week 1, brother?
So I've got 2 picks that I really like for week 1. One being that I really like the Niners to cover that 2.5 point margin against the Seahawks. Now I know we're not full strength, we're missing a couple guys in the wide receiver room. However, there's 2 or 3 guys that you can have faith in that they will come out and beat the Seahawks. That's going to be Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brock Purdy. Those 3 guys are going to come out, and the offense will still be able to perform just because Purdy is able to facilitate those weapons he does currently have. Ricky Pearsall is going to be ready for year 2. I do like the connection that they've built throughout training camp this season. So it's kind of exciting to see the boys back on the screen. Preseason just isn't the same as regular season. So I do think that the Niners are going to win 24-10 over the Seahawks, with Christian McCaffrey having 150 all-purpose yards. Now I do think that Shanahan is going to be a little bit more aware about how he uses him, just because he wants to kind of prohibit the wear and tear if he can. Just because the Seahawks are a rival, it is going to be a pretty fierce and competitive game, I believe. But with the second pick, I do think that the Falcons are going to beat the Bucks week 1.
Ooh.
Uh,
Wow.
I like Michael Penix and
Wow.
a guy, Bijan Robinson. He's just going to have a great, great year.
Yeah, you are
I'm
high on
really
him.
feeling it.
You are.
Drinking
Yeah.
the Kool-Aid. Uh, so I think that the Falcons are going to win 38 or 32-28 over the Bucks. I do think Baker Mayfield throws for 300 yards. But Michael Penix will, he'll throw for 225, 2 touchdowns, but Bijan's going to be the star of the game. He's going to have 150 all-purpose, along with 2 touchdowns. So those are the 2 nuggets that I have. And if you're really liking it, I like the Chargers money line against the Chiefs
In Sao
in
You like
Paulo?
that?
this Friday.
Wow.
I think that
Okay.
Madison
Jim
Field.
Harbaugh is going to get his guys electric, and I do like the weapons that they added in the offseason. So
Chase,
we'll kind of see what happens.
Do you remember what you said before we started? I didn't think. Oh man, I'm interested to see what your NFL picks then would be, Chase. Considering Nathan's got your Chargers winning in Sao Paulo.
I do like that a lot. I don't have the Chargers as one of my picks, but I agree with that pick 100%. With Nathan picks, I'm kind of with the Buccaneers over the Falcons, but you could talk me into the Falcons being that it's at Atlanta. Maybe they surprise me and Michael Penix a little better than I think. But
They will.
49ers, I am totally on them over Seattle. I think you guys easily cover that 2.5.
Yeah.
But for my picks, my first one, I'm going to take Baltimore over Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. It's in Buffalo. It's a rematch of the divisional round. And something about just rematch games, I feel like the team that loses comes back, has some edge, and we'll get it done. I think the combination of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry is just almost unstoppable. Like, I don't really know how you're supposed to stop that. So I'll take the Ravens over Buffalo. on Sunday Night Football. And then for my other pick,
Like it.
I'm going to take the Bengals over the Browns, specifically the Bengals to cover the 5.5. They're doing something they haven't done before, which is play Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and all of them in the preseason because they've came out so slow every year. Like last year, they lose to the Patriots week 1. Like who loses to the Patriots? Um,
Everybody.
not since Brady's left.
I.
But either way, I think the Bengals, because of that, they're wanting to come out hot and fast this year. So give me the Bengals in a big over the Browns week 1. What about you,
I
Michael? What's
like
your week 1
all of those
prediction?
picks.
Those are
Thank
some
you,
good
Nathan.
picks you got there, Chase. My picks, so I didn't have the Bucks Falcons, but since both of you have made picks on that game, I'm gonna ride Bucks -2.5. I think the Bucks cover that. Not decidingly. I think they win by 3. I think it's gonna be a nail biter, and the Bucks wind up kicking a field goal as time expires to cover that spread. Though we're recording this on Monday, so that spread might change come Sunday. Who knows? But the spread as of right now on that game is -2.5 for Tampa. So, um, that's exciting. But I do think Baker. I mean, the Bucks have better wideouts than the Falcons do. I mean, Michael Penix is a good quarterback. I loved watching him play at Washington, but if you're looking at Drake London compared to Mike Evans, and you can't really make that comparison. Um,
London's pretty good.
London's
Drake
good, but
London's a
he's
solid player.
I'd
yeah,
say it's
he's
more after like the Falcons don't really have a number 2, number 3 guy. They go like
yeah,
Drake London to Darnell Mooney maybe is their number 2.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, but
That's okay. Guess who makes up for it?
Bijan,
Bijan
yeah, I knew
Robinson
you were gonna say that.
and Mr. Kyle Pitts.
No, I
Can't
don't want to
Sleep
hear
sleep
it
on
on
from
him.
Kyle Pitts. No, I don't want to hear it from Kyle Pitts. This is shade at Kyle Pitts. You ruined my fantasy team 2 years ago when you entered the league, buddy.
Guess we know who Michael's not drafting tonight.
Nope, it's not
He
Kyle
just needs
Pitts.
to
I'd leave him
build a
undrafted if
bridge
I
and
were
get
you
over
guys.
it.
For my picks, I had the Patriots covering that 2.5 spread against the Raiders. I think Drake May's going to have a coming out party against them, but I might also be very wrong, and it might just make me shit my pants. So who knows? uh, I
Pete
think Trey.
Carroll. Pete Carroll's a good coach.
Yeah, Mike Vrabel is better. But I think Travion Henderson is going. I'm hoping he looks great. Um, it would be cool if he could return another kickoff for the actual week 1 instead of a preseason game, but I'll take it. Um, I am a little nervous though, just because like yes, we got Stephon Diggs and we went out and got a couple of receivers in the draft as well. But that does not necessarily mean that those receivers are going to be those pieces to get open for Drake May or be solidified in if you're throwing a ball, you're going to catch it and not have to worry about dropped passes because the Patriots had many issues with dropped passes last year. Um, Drake May, I think, had an extra 5 or 6 picks just because our receivers tipped the pass instead of catching it. So hopefully they got that fixed this year with Rabes being the head coach. I mean, our head coach got a little cut on his forehead from trying to break up I think it was a Commanders Patriots fight during preseason camp. So Bill Belichick never went out there and hopped in the dog pile to pull guys off. So I do like where Rabes is at. Um, seems like he's instilling that culture. So I've got Patriots -2.5. Um, my other pick is as of right now an underdog, but I've got the Dolphins beating the Colts week 1 in Indy. I just think Tyreek Hill is gonna Tyreek Hill, probably have over 100 yards receiving with a touchdown in the air. Um, I think they'll probably also include him on jet sweeps and just little motions to try and get him the ball in the backfield. rather than having to have Tua sit super long in the pocket for a play to develop. So as of right now, Indy's favored in that game -1.5. So I would take Dolphins +1.5 as of right now. Hopefully Tua's, gotten a lot better, is gonna take care of his head, and can come out the game unscathed and successful in a Week 1 victory. Um, and so those are my picks. Do you guys have any thoughts on those? Do you any Patriot doubters out there?
I think the
I'm on
Patriots Raider game
opposite
is kind of
sides of you on two of them.
uh-oh. All right, well, let's hear
The
what
Oh,
you
Bucks
think,
and the
Nathan.
Pats.
you think the
I don't like
Raiders?
I don't like the Bucks and the Pats. Just because I'm on the opposite side of you for the Falcons.
Yeah,
And I
Yep.
think that Pete Carroll and the Raiders are gonna have, I think Ashton Jeanty is gonna show you guys kind of what a good running back looks like.
Vrabes
So
is not gonna allow that.
Raiders
I
first
think
should
that Mike
be better on
Vrabel
offense.
is a good coach. Yeah. But I don't think that you guys are gonna win that football game. But Chase, what do you think about that one?
Me, it's kind of 50-50. Trying to like the Raiders are going to be better on offense. They got Geno Smith. He's an upgrade. Ashton Genty's an
Brock
upgrade.
Bowers.
Brock Bowers looks like the real deal, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think I can be talked into the Raiders.
No, no, we can't allow that.
I'll go. I'll go Patriots in a close game.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear,
They're
boys.
respectful. I respect your guys' picks. I just don't agree with them.
And that's a-okay. That's why we're here. Um, but boys, it's been a pleasure. As usual, my name is Michael. This is Nathan and Chase, and we are Cornfed Coverage. Have a great rest of your Monday, and go Big Red.
Huskers are 1-0.
Headed to 2-0.
Headed to 2-0, boys. Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Have a good one.